In this video, I want to talk to you about underglazes. Underglazes are going to be our first line of attack when decorating our pinch pots. So we will be using different types of underglazes, different colors, and applying those to the surface of our leather hard pieces. And then we will bisque fire them, and then we'll be able to apply glaze on top of that. And this will give us our base color. We can apply clear glaze and create a shiny, colorful surface. We can leave the surface matte and dry and not apply glaze. These underglazes will give you bright, intense color that isn't often achievable with glaze. Left by themselves and fired, they will have a matte surface. We can apply clear glaze to them and create a shiny, glossy surface over the color. Or we can apply other colored glazes to the surface, and the color we have underneath of the underglaze will affect the way that the glaze turns out in the final firing. Here I'm going to show you a few techniques for how to apply the underglaze. So they always need to be shaken really well. The underglazes can be used right out of the container, but you can also mix the underglazes to create your own colors. We have a number of plastic containers, and you can pour a little bit of underglaze into a container, and then add a little bit of another color to create a custom color. Only mix what you think you will need, as we don't want to put a custom color back into the jar. Here, now I have a little bit lighter green. When applying underglazes, we want to use one of our bamboo brushes, and what we're going to do is we're going to load up the brush, and then we'll apply the underglaze will be basically what I call laying it down. So rather than brushing like this, which will potentially mix up the clay underneath into the underglaze and also give you an uneven thickness, we want to just lay the underglaze down very lightly with a loaded brush. When applying underglaze, we need to apply at least 3 coats. The underglaze will be dissolved by the glaze that you put on top of it unless you put 3 coats on. If you only put 1 coat, the underglaze will get dissolved away by the glaze that we add on top of it. You have to wait until it's dried to apply your second coat. So you can see here where the underglaze is glossy, that means it's still wet. So we need to wait for that to dry and become matte before we can apply a second coat. Now you can also apply the underglaze by sponging. This will give you a much thinner coat that the glaze might eat through, but you can get some interesting effects. Now that my underglaze is dry, it's no longer glossy, I can add a second coat. And when I add the second coat, I'm going to paint it in the opposite direction that I painted the first coat, and that will help reduce the brush strokes that might appear. Now I'll wait for this layer of underglaze to dry to the point where it's no longer glossy, and then I'll apply a third coat again in the opposite direction, and that'll be plenty of underglaze to make sure that it stays there throughout the whole glaze firing.